We haven't spotted this card before, right? Yeah, this card. It's like that other card that's $40, but better. Try it today. Alright, welcome back to the Clone Forge Big Deck Lovers. This time we have a 5-player game featuring in turn order, Rob on the left, then Brian, Ty, Josh, and I. Going last. Rob goes first this game, landing Watchwolf. Brian lands Teamer Ascendancy. Rubinia Soul Singer from Ty. So Ty and Brian each have 3 colors online on their first turns. Dimir Cutpurse as a land from Josh. And Utter End as a land from me. So gold cards all around from everyone, but only Brian and Ty have 3 color lands already. On Brian's turn, he lands another 3-color card with Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. That's a shame. He now has every color except white. Ty basically gets every color online on his turn when he casts the first spell of the game with Birds of Paradise. Rob continues playing single mana lands on his turn, but then casts his first spell of the game, Simic Signet. Brian casts Glissa the Traitor. Brian currently has no artifacts or even anything in his graveyard. Draga Tree Speaker from J Money. On Brian's turn, he diplomatically rolls a die to discover who he's attacking. He randomly chooses me, and in response, I cast Tribute to Hunger to make him sack a creature. He chooses Glissa, and I gain 3 life. On Ty's turn, he casts the game's first power creature with Bringer of the Blue Dawn, since he has 1 mana of every color. How are those Bringer cards 9 mana? They're not 9 mana good. Everyone reels in awe at Ty's creature, which prompts Josh to Swords to Plowshares it. Ty gains 5 life, and then on Josh's turn, he levels up his Tree Speaker and then casts Garruk Relentless and uses it to shoot Ty's bird, which won't make Garruk flip. Steam Augury from Rob. He adds Phyrexian Arena and Fleece Mainline to hand. Rob then casts the Arena on his turn. Brian, at the end of his turn, casts Intuition. Then on his turn, Brian immediately evokes Shriekmaw to kill Rob's creature. Creatures are not staying on the field long this game. Ty casts his first Planeswalker of the game, Elspeth Tyrell, and takes her down to make some soldiers. Garruk makes a 2/2 wolf on Josh's turn. He then takes an extra turn with Temporal Mastery. Garruk makes another wolf on the next turn. I then cast Fact or Fiction choosing Josh, and then add the 3-card pile to hand. I then cast Arcana Justice. Rob draws an extra card on his turn from the arena and loses the first life of the game. Rob thinks about passable plays, but then it just ends up passing. Mercurial Chemistar from Brian. I like that guy. Ty plays a better Fact or Fiction, Siphon Mind, making the rest of us discard and drawing him 4 cards. Ty then gains 3 life by plussing Elspeth. End of turn, Josh casts Summoning Trap, looking at the top 7 cards, and then puts Charmbreaker Devils into play from one of the piles. He then gets Summoning Trap back on his upkeep from the Charmbreaker Devils. That's pretty sweet. Josh casts Spell Twine to exile his Swords to Plowshares, and uses that to exile my Archon, gaining me 4 life. He then exiles Ty's Siphon Mind to also draw 4 cards and to make us each discard. Josh must shop at Kmart, because that is value. Josh then attacks Brian for 16 with the Charmbreaker Devils, but he blocks, and me for 4 with his tokens. On my turn, I attempt to cast Akruma's Vengeance, but Josh wants to keep his devil, so he counters it with Arcane Denial. He and I both draw cards on Rob's turn. Gifts Ungiven from Rob. He gets Tidings, and in Garrick's Wake, loses life and draws an extra card on his upkeep and casts Terrastodon. He was really hoping to cast in Garrick's Wake here, but he discovered he was 1 mana short, so he had to settle with Terrastodon. He blows up each of the Planeswalkers, because Planeswalkers, and then nothing else really on the field he needs to destroy. He just ends up destroying an extra land from Ty, which will give Ty 2 elephants. Brian casts Angel of Despair to blow up Josh's Charmbreaker Devils. Josh's lead has almost now evaporated. On Ty's turn, I think he's a little upset. Rob went after his land, first cast Pacifism on Rob's Tidon, so it can't block him. He then swings all out at Rob for 9 damage, but before combat damage, he casts Grixis Charm, a card that is almost never cast, using the mode that's almost never chosen, that give his guys +2, dealing Rob a total of 19 damage, killing him. That's what happens when you blow up people's lands, kids. Also, Ty didn't want to lose the creatures because he knew Rob was getting in Garrick's Wake next turn. Josh takes a very long time on his turn, but then just passes. I cast Progenitor Mimic, clone count 1, and copy Brian's Angel. Now, I could have shot Brian's Angel here, but he said he wasn't going to attack me, so I went after Josh's Tree Speaker just to curb some of his mana production. In response, Josh recasts Summoning Trap, which adds Sphinx of Jawar Isle to the battlefield, and for any of you who have played a big deck, Sphinx of Jawar Isle is ridiculous. Josh then looks at every top card. Ty casts Biden of Thassa, and then attacks me all out. I block an elephant and take 6 damage from unblocked creatures, and Ty draws 4 cards yet again. He then finishes his turn with Ratchet Bomb. Josh then also attacks all out. Some of us block, and Brian and I take 2 damage, and Ty takes 5. Josh then casts Toxic Deluge to wipe the battlefield with everything except for his Sphinx of Jawar Isle, since it has no damage on it. Josh is looking pretty good until I cast Consuming Vapors on my turn to make Josh sacrifice his Sphinx, and I gain 5 life. We are going to see that Sphinx again later in the game, though, don't worry. Brian gains 4 life with Sphinx of Revelation, also drawing 4 cards. That is the magic draw cards number of this game. Captain Sisay from Brian. Lightning Angel from Ty, who attacks Brian for 3 and draws a card from the Biden. Animar, Soul of Elephants from Josh, and if you watch our gameplays, you know Josh loves Animar. On my upkeep, I rebound the Vapors at Brian, killing a Sisay and gaining 2 life. I then also attack Brian and gain 3 life. I then cast Huntmaster of the Fells and gain an additional 2 life. On his turn, Brian casts Martial Coup for I think 7 and blows up all our creatures. Ty gets back Rubinia on his turn with Unburial Rites. For Josh, Eternal Witness gets back Animar, which he then recasts, and then casts Angel Finality to exile Ty's graveyard along with the Unburial Rites. Not having much on my turn, I just cast Brian and then pass the turn to Brian. Brian goes nuts on his turn, casting Cauldron Dance, putting Sepulchral Primordial from his graveyard into play, which is a nuts card in the multiplayer format. Brian then takes so many creatures out of graveyards, including my Progenitor Mimic, clone count 2, copying Sepulchral Primordial and getting pretty much every other creature out. Luckily, Ty has nothing in his graveyard since the Angel Finality from Josh cleared it. Brian attacks Josh and I. Josh blocks, and I take 5 damage. On Ty's turn, Rubinia takes the Progenitor Mimic, Sepulchral Primordial, from Brian, and Ty goes to cast Progenitus, but Brian counters it for 1 with Condescend. That's like adding insult to injury. I cast Armada Worm on my turn, getting a 5/5 worm, which I can throw at someone with Brian. Or Brian. Brian casts Angel of Despair, and Josh counters it with Time Stop, also stopping Brian from attacking this turn. Fun. On Ty's turn, he copies Sepulchral Primordial, Clone Count 3, and steals people's stuff from graveyards. Ty gains 2 life when he takes my Huntmaster, and exiles Brian's graveyard with Angel Finality. On my turn, I go to attack Brian, but none gets through, so I just throw a worm at his face with Brian and gain 5 life from Lifelink. I then exile all creatures with Merciless Eviction. Brian casts the Sepulchral Primordial he had in his hand and gets a bunch of stuff back. Kokusho the Evening Star from Ty. That guy is a very dangerous creature. Josh attacks me for 3 with a Hasty Beast. I cast Restock to return Factor Fiction and Merciless Eviction. I then have enough mana to cast the Merciless Eviction, but it is Void Slimed from Brian. Brian then returns the Void Slime to hand with Josh's Charmbreaker Devils, since it's the only card in his graveyard. That is problematic. Brian casts Razia, Boros Angel Guy, and then attacks all out, killing Josh. So this is kind of a mistake here. I think Brian forgot that once he kills Josh, he's going to lose the Charmbreaker Devils, which would every turn return the Void Slime to hand. But he still got the Void Slime in hand right now, and Ty tries to get it out of his hand by Death Grasping Brian's face for 11, which Brian, of course, Void Slimes. So I don't have any answers at this point, so I just cast Factor Fiction, choosing Ty, hoping that he gives me a bunch of cards so that I can try to get us out of this mess with Brian. On Brian's turn, he goes to attack, and the only thing I can do is tap down his guys with Naya Charm, which will answer his board for a turn at least. Ty attacks Brian for 5 with Kokusho, and then casts Phyrexian Metamorph, copying Kokusho, and sacking the tapped one to make Brian and myself lose 5 life, gaining Ty 10 life. He then wipes the board with Dune Blast of our creatures. On Ty's next turn, he attacks me for 5 with Kokusho, and I cast Violent Outburst to blow up the 2 creatures and one of Brian's Signets, since he has so much mana. In response, Brian gains control of Kokusho with Olivia Voldaren. He's still going to lose it, but at least this way he gains the life and Ty and I lose it from the Kokusho effect. Brian then casts a game-winning card with Grizzlebrand, which I have to counter with Deprive, returning Inferno Titan to hand, until Brian realizes he doesn't have a 4th black mana, so he can't actually cast it, and I don't get the Inferno Titan back. But then Ty casts an equally wanting to counterable spell with Lurking Predators, so I just do the exact same move with that. On my turn, I attack Ty for 1, dealing him damage, and then deal him another 3 damage with Inferno Titan. Brian still doesn't get a black mana on his turn, and does nothing else, while Ty finally starts ticking up his Ratchet Bomb. Remember that spell he played way back ago? Ty casts Primal Command to gain 7 life and find a creature, but I'm ready with Plasm Capture to counter the spell and add that much mana to my mana pool next turn. On my main phase, I add 5 red mana to my pool and feed it into the Titan. I then attack Brian all out and deal him 3 damage with the Titan's ability. Brian goes to exile my Titan with Selesnya Charm, but I'm ready with the Counterflux. Brian dies and he's a little upset I had so much counter all in a row. But that's what I drew. I then cast Debtor's Knell. Ty has no play on his turn, drawing dead other than to tick up his bomb. On my upkeep, I take Ty's Phyrexian Metamorph and use it to copy my Inferno Titan. Clone count 5, and then deal Ty 3 damage with it. I then attack Ty for a total of 14 damage, including the Titan's pump and trigger effect. It is lucky Ty had so much life. I then cast Liliana Vess. Liliana Vess is kind of the weird planeswalker for big deck because you can't really use its tutor effect because then whatever you tutor for, your opponent will just draw it. But I do use it to discard the last card out of Ty's hand. Ty Miracles Terminus. Don't let anyone ever tell you miracles don't happen. Ty is living proof. If he had just destroyed them, I'd be able to get it back with Debtor's Knell anyway. But I do take his Kokosho with Debtor's Knell, which is an almost equally good play. I then take up Liliana just to maybe use its ultimate, and out of counter spells at this point, I just cast Leylana's Sanctity in hopes Ty draws some kind of target effect. He at least won't be able to go that route with it. Ty draws Send Triplets, which won't help him, which means Ty is dead on my next attack, winning the game for me. Holy cow, that was a long game. And poor Rob died so early on. Big decks are probably our longest games, because they're our most fair. People don't get combos as easily as they would in Commander. Okay, that's it for now. And check out these other fantastic games of Big Deck we played here, including a fine game of Big Deck Emperor. We're going on vacation for a little while, and we'll see you again in about a month. Take care, take clone. All right.
One, two, three, 4, 5. 4? No, wait. Was this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Miracles that shit.
Holy shit!
That was literally what you had to go.
Holy shit. Ratchet Bomb on taps.
That's the turn.
That's the turn.